Hello, Meoni here, and welcome to another trailer breakdown. This is where we take a trailer, this time the 4.4 Prelude in Violet trailer, and literally look at what happens in every scene. As you probably realise, there's probably a lot to look at in this trailer. So as we fade from black and see this strange green light emanating from rock to the heavens before the logo appears, this is likely part of the FFXIV raid. The music blasts into action with choral verse, covering this reverberating voice that we can barely hear of an unknown individual. This is as the camera pans around this throne room of the boss Chaos, which is the first boss of the new FFXIV raid in patch 4.4, along with a wonderful close-up here of the boss. As we see the boss animate from his seated position in the throne, the voice becomes clearer, saying, "Ahead looms light, expunging all form and life." Chaos then walks forward from his throne, with his three red eyes glowing wildly. The Stormblood logo then appears at the peak of this choral singing. We then black fade transition to inside Alamigo, where they've set up a proper meeting room finally, filled with city-state leaders and the scions of the Seventh Dawn at this meeting, Lys and Roban at the head of the table, and Hien at the bottom as a guest. Carney Senna is heard saying, "And we, for our part, are glad indeed to be able to welcome friends, both old and new." The camera pans around the table upon settling on Hien, who mentions, "Pray accept my heartfelt thanks for your generous invitation," to which everyone nods in agreement. Thancred is then seen in a cutaway outside the meeting hall, presumably reporting to Lys as a spy, where he says talk is rife that Doma has summoned a primal, and the Empire's more liberal voices are being drowned out in the fearful clamour for retribution. We get a cutaway of Yugiri looking at a corpse of a man inside the Burn Desert, the lifeless desert to the west of Doma, and then we see the Warrior of Light and Y'shtola looking at a ruined Magitech suit, presumably investigating where they last saw Alphino in 4.3 with the Echo vision the Warrior of Light had, where we saw him meeting that unmasked gunblade-wielding soldier inside the Burn. It seems Alice and Hien are here as well. We then get a view of 6 Yol being ridden on in the sky, one by Hien towards a destination in the desert, seemingly at a hurry in what looks like a sandstorm. We see a character I don't believe we know yet, bent over, not enjoying the storm either, on the back of another Yol. This strange point of view, third-person flight through the Burn, is obscured by darkness and shadows from the sandstorm, really giving the effect of this sandstorm getting really fierce. We then get a first glimpse of the Burn dungeon, one of the 2 new dungeons in this patch. The first thing we see is an actual boulder falling before the party, Indiana Jones style. Perhaps there will be many natural obstacles to avoid inside here as mechanics. We see the dungeon party smacking up this awesome looking crystal scorpion boss next, confirmed to be one of the coolest looking bosses in here, which seems to have the ability to fire crystals as an AoE from its body, which just looks awesome. We then see more of the Burn with this shot of the party walking over a dune and seeing the corpse and bones of this colossal beast that once lived in the desert. And then this sandy white dragon. This could easily be the last boss of this dungeon, looking very epic. I especially love the details on the wings of this dragon. It then pans to a lifeless campsite littered with bodies around a campfire, and we hear Xeno's voice. The Populares no longer present an obstacle. The camera pans to the gunblade-wielding soldier that saved Alphino and his 2 other soldiers looking at the destroyed campsite. We then get a nasty close-up of one of the corpses, lifeless, eyes white and wide open, and Xenos continues, "Now is the time to bring the Empire's might to bear." Alphino looks up at the Garlean man with the gunblade, and then we simply cut away to the inside of a dungeon of some type, as a party walks through its halls. This is filled with robotic Allegan technology, and a massive robotic monster, possibly a hexadrome with circular saw blades, faces the party. I don't really know where this is, and I'm very interested. We then immediately cut to a scene where Dorman citizens are releasing the lanterns into the sky. This is actually from the new Doman reconstruction effort quests, and is one of the cutscenes from the new chapter of that story in 4.4. Carney Senna talks whilst the lanterns are launched. "Reach out as I may, I could not sense in him the spark of life that is his soul," which pans to Lys for a second, and then we see Carney Senna's serious face. It then pans to Alice looking downwards. and nearly crying says, "To have the people I hold dear struck down before my eyes, and to be powerless to help them, that I cannot bear." We then cut straight to an image of the Lalafell from the Eureka storyline that I keep forgetting the name of, with a menacing face seemingly summoning a weapon for himself. I hope he had to go through the same grind we did. Kryl looks on in disgust. Plot twist, the angry Lalafell is in fact not nice. Surprise, surprise. We then cut to some combat, possibly in St. Mosiani's Arboretum hard mode, underground, with some fire pits and lava and this bug creature that looks to be a boss, and it then fades to black. And then we get a slow fade into the Suzaku fight. A voice then screams, "Tenzin! Tenzin, it is I! Sheath your sword, I beg of you!" Some beautiful shots of Suzaku flying around the platform here, of which you fight it on. Some awesome music here kicks in, which you'll have to hear to just believe. Frankly, it's on par with the type of music Oblivion was for Shiva, which is high praise indeed. Feathers strike the platform in one of its mechanics, and lots of blurry, fiery explosions. The add phase perhaps here, and this cool looking mechanic with arrows on the floor where balls come towards the circles, and I think players have to direct the energy away by being in circles that divert the light from the boss, or it will probably rebirth like a phoenix or something. We then see Suzaku's humanoid form, which is ugly for a second, and then we see what could be its ultimate ability. At this point we hear the screaming of Sadhu. "Yes, yes, not since Danardum has my soul burned so." This is actually overlapped with the Suzaku images here, but has nothing to do with it, and then we finally see Sadhu in her own scene when it transitions. Some of these scenes have a filter on them, as you might notice around the images. This is possibly leading me to believe that they're either flashbacks or maybe even echo visions. I don't think these are current time period events. Next up, famous quickfire scene transitions that have a similar filter, almost like flashbacks in quick succession. We then see Merylweb, Aymeric looking startled, Nanamu in deep conversation, Alphino looking somber, Y'shtola being Y'shtola, Oriangier smiling, and then a scene of the Dawn Throne in the Azim Steppe. A voice cuts in from Magnai here as we see him. "Insolent child, you will learn your place." He swings his axe around furiously, and it fades to black. And then we're suddenly in the Omega raid looking down on a shadow of a dragon. The Warrior of Light looks confused amongst this final part of Omega inside the Alphascape here, and in the sky we see the same dragon flying, which happens to be one of the bosses and a confirmation of one of the leaks we were given yesterday, looking very much like Midgard-sama. Fighting in a similar style to Shinryu, blinding the screen with constant Ak Morns, and then we start to see the actual logo image appear in pieces as a voice speaks until the end of the video. That same voice says, "That way," and this is where he says what sounds like he says Zora or something, something, "be changed. Ahead looms light, expunging all form and life. Twin dooms, only you can forestall. A new you. Through wide the gates that we may pass, ahead looms a calamity." Which is very interesting if you want to read into that. After the image of the head fades and the voice is playing constantly as we see the next scenes, we see a character, possibly Sid with the same hairstyle, reading a document at a table where his hand is constantly shaking. A quick transition then to Nero looking cool with his shades on outside the Omega raid, and a quick shot of part of the St. Mosiani's hard mode dungeon where we see the roots of this giant tree underground, with this massive mud copricore taking an absolute beating from a party. And then we see the Emperor, but with no speech from his moving lips, and another section of the logo appears with his head. Next, the Warrior of Light is in this sort of weird state, almost at flux, seeing constant images of scions and other city-state leaders around him at this meeting place from the start of the video. People are looking physically in pain or ill or turmoil as the screen goes funny, so they were potentially poisoned or something. And then we see Xenos, or rather his image, walking away from the Emperor's throne towards the camera, and his face gets added to that logo. We then see Alpha, who sheds a single tear from his eyes, and then a shot of Chaos being fought by a raid team. Omega's eyes open up, and then we see Sid and the Warrior of Light looking to the sky, filled with yellow feathers. Omega itself in robot form then rushes from above down towards the camera, in which another face gets added to the logo. This one I actually don't know, this is probably a new character. And then we see Y'shtola casting some manner of spell with white magic. Chaos pounding on the raid again and throwing magical balls of energy at the raid. And another face to the logo is then added, this one with spectacles. And we finally see the third boss fight against Omega itself as it flies around the battlefield. Mechanics on the floor similar to updrafts from the Cruise Chaser fight. And then we see one of the gold feathers from earlier in a character's hand, which then sadly fades to nothing. More of the lost warrior of light in this weird phase sort of form. Alisaie bowing, almost finding peace within herself, or prayer. Omega then absolutely laser beams a raid to death, along with the amazing cannon attack that we saw before that was fired at Shinryu during the end of Heavensward cutscenes. Alphino's head then gets added to the logo, and a Garlean banner erupts at the top as it zooms out to show the Prelude in Violet patch logo and text. And that's the whole trailer. What did you think? I thought that it was more eye-opening to me than a lot of the older trailers, perhaps not my favourite layout, but I did enjoy seeing more of the bosses from the Alphascape raid this time around. That fourth one is still elusive, and the storyline is still very interesting. Everything to do with Alphino is pure speculation. If I said that he was simply going to die, it would just be a guess, but I think from the trailer that's kind of what they want you to think. I think it's very well edited, and I don't think we should jump to too many conclusions just yet. The previous leak video that I did, if you don't mind spoilers, you should go and watch that, since a lot of the predictions in that actually came true so far, more so in this trailer. Either way, thank you for watching. It's very exciting. I'm looking forward to 4.4, and I'll speak to you all next time.